Hey everybody, my name is Evan Powell, and today I'll be talking about obesity, but this time I'll be talking about it from a different lens. Today I'll be speaking on the sociological aspects of it, pertaining to different factors such as social class, gender, and race, and why factors like this have led to obesity becoming a global pandemic. Not to mention, I'll be using the documentary Speaking Frankly Fat Shaming and using 5 different perspectives throughout the videos to correlate all of this together on why obesity is a pandemic in today's society. But before we dive deep into that theory, here's some pre-thought questions that I have regarding my insight on why I think obesity has become a problem. First off, some factors that contribute to obesity. In my opinion, I believe that several factors contribute to obesity, whether it's excessive drinking and smoking, lack of physical exercise, or even poor eating habits. Stuff like this have caused mental stress and anxiety on people and has caused them to make bad habits and contribute to their overweightness. This has caused the severity of obesity to be really high, and I honestly do believe that obesity is a big problem right now. Today, a lot of people have become overweight, and it's becoming really stigmatized and normalized to where it's hard to even have a conversation about health and weight loss without offending somebody or without coming off as fat phobic. Not to mention, the most significant impact on obesity in individuals is their ego and their self-confidence. A lot of people that deal with obesity struggle with self-confidence because they feel embarrassed. They feel like they're out of place. And this can really have a toll on somebody's mental health, which can just lead them to continue on that cycle of obesity and making poor eating habits and poor decisions. And yes, I do think societal attitudes play a role. Society has always stigmatized and discriminated fat people. There's a reason why the word fat phobic is a thing. A lot of people get a lot of bad attention just because they're overweight or they're obese. And I feel like this has put a lot of stress on them and has caused them to derail and spiral down in things such as anxiety and depression, which just contributes to the long cycle of them making poor eating habits. And I do honestly think societal body ideals have a negative impact on mental health. Just like I just said prior, just having all that pressure built on society, just forcing it down on you and just dealing with that stigmatization, I feel like it just caused a lot of just backlash and a lot of pressure just to try to fit in and conform to societal norms, which can push somebody over the edge and make them feel less confident in their body and ultimately just make them feel like an outlier. And since we got this all out the way, now let's actually get into the sociological aspects. The first sociological aspect I want to touch on is social class and habitus. In week 4 of our modules, we talked about habitus, which refers to a person's habits, tastes, and patterns based on their environments. Let me ask you this. When you drive down from your house, what do you typically see? You see a McDonald's, you see a Wendy's, you see a Zaxby's, you see all this fast food in comparison to something like Whole Foods or even healthier options like Panera Bread or like Cava, which is like miles away. This is a problem. People, social classes, where they live at, this plays a problem in them making bad decisions because fast food is what? Typically cheaper, it's typically more accessible, so it puts a person in a default mode to where they feel obligated to saving their money, getting something quick and cheap and fulfilling, but in reality they're actually hurting themselves, filling their bodies with processed foods such as chips, fries, fried foods, sodas, that's just calorie dense with no nutritious taste, and it's ultimately building up problems such as hypertension and type 2 diabetes, which is contributing to their obesity. The next thing I want to talk about is intersectionality, race, class, safety, and opportunity. In week 6, we talked about intersectionality, which is basically the idea that race, class, and gender combine to create unique experiences. Food access and race is a topic that is often overlooked. Due to things such as segregation that has happened throughout our society, and even with cultural bias in minorities, a lot of people do not have access to nutritional foods based on the reason why they're a minority. Low-income areas are often overlapped with food deserts. This place of access to healthy food because it's structured that way. It's structured to make people such as African Americans and Latino communities conform to calorie-dense foods that are just gonna make them more overweight and less healthy, and they already don't have access to things such as gyms, such as parks, and such as other communal things that could actually help them sustain healthy lifestyles. Safety and physical activity. It points out that 46% of black women feel safe walking alone at night. So they want to exercise, their environment not allowed. This just continues on with what I said prior already. Their environment doesn't even allow them to be physically active. So they cannot even allow to be physically active due to crime rates, due to low impoverished areas not having the resources to provide adequate equipment for them to even work out in. Then it's just adding on to more problems that is touched on the racial discrimination and structure of the country that is going to mitigate them as individuals to even get fit, fast, and healthy. And lastly, we're going to talk about gender. Gender and societal pressure. In week 5, we talked about gender expectations, especially we emphasize femininity and pressures with women to be thin, attractive, controlled, and girly. Society has made it to where there is a fit stigma on what a person based on their gender should look like. It is expected for women to be really fit and feminine. But this is not the case for every woman. Every woman doesn't have the same biological composition. Same for men. Men are expected to have an ideal six-pack, ripped biceps, tone everything. But that's not fair. That's not the same. So when people feel like they can't fit into the status quo, it makes them feel obligated to go and try to do things out of the ordinary. They have a low self-esteem, and they just try to do anything and everything to please society instead of loving themselves. This constant pressure creates unrealistic standards and often can lead to things such as depression and anxiety, and make them become less happy about even wanting to become healthy, and just make them just spiral downwards. And now, since we have removed the sociological aspects, let's touch on the documentary. Like I said, there's 5 different perspectives that I want to touch on. But the first perspective being from Dr. Cass. Dr. Cass argues the obesity is a genuine medical concern linked to heart disease and diabetes. He has said multiple times throughout the documentary that this global pandemic is one of the top chronic diseases that is causing an issue in today's society. And with it being that, it needs to be addressed and need to be conformed immediately, but it's hard to do so due to people being really sensitive to the topic because they don't want to be viewed as fat phobic. They don't want to be viewed as politically incorrect. All of this plays a factor, but he highlights most specifically that obesity is a global pandemic that is killing people day in and day out and needs to be touched on. Next is Dr. Rebecca Poole. She has an anti-stigma perspective. She emphasizes the physiological form of fat shaming. She wants to prove that shame makes people avoid wanting to be healthy. avoid doctors, forcing them to binge eat, even makes them feel depressed. All of this matches to what I said earlier on the societal issues on how it shapes physical and mental health of a person. Next is Sarah Chilwell. She has a body positive experience. She is an overweight woman herself, and she is a blogger. She uses her blog to create a safe space environment for individuals in her community that are trying to be body positive. Body positivity is a big social topic that she feels can make people feel safe in their body, confident, even if they might not fit to the status quo on what physical health should be. It makes people such as her go out and just feel unified in a sense. Next is Ms. Jillian Michaels. Ms. Jillian Michaels is a physical fitness instructor. She believes that society has become too soft about obesity. She is basically touching on similar things to what Dr. Katz has said. She believes that obesity is an issue, but she believes that people have made obesity a topic that cannot be talked about based on the nuance that if you challenge somebody to be physically fit or talk about their health concerns and make them have room for improvement, then you're basically being a bigot. You're basically being unequal and culturally biased. And she argues for the push to be more thin and be more healthy because she was someone who was overweight as well, so she understands the importance of being fit, which is why she became a fitness instructor in general. And lastly, we have Ms. Sabrina Shrings, a physiological professor. She is touching on the sociological perspective. She shrinks obesity through the topics that I mentioned: racism, social class history, and economic inequality. She argues that people's push for thinness, such as Ms. Jillian Michaels, is culturally and societally unfair because not everybody has the access and opportunity to do so. Not to mention, some people, biologically, such as black women, are not biologically composed to have the standard Western world ideology to be how it is depicted in magazines. She roots a lot of this through fat phobia and stigmatism. This aligns heavily with the intersectionality and the structural racism. And together with all these perspectives, it gives you a window and it gives you a spectrum on what and how controversial that obesity has become. Not everybody is seeing the same topic the same, but that's important because everybody has different opinions. Everybody has different nuances, and by having conversations like this and bringing up different topics like this, it allows everybody to take educational pieces and understand each other a little bit better so we can work towards what is going to ultimately help us fix this global pandemic. In my opinion, we need to fix obesity. Obesity is a big problem. I can definitely understand people such as Dr. Poole, people such as Sabrina Shrings, but it comes a time and a place to where we as a culture, we as a society, especially in America, have to get people healthy. We have to get people to start learning how to undo their bad habits of health. Enforcing them is not going to be the way, but we have to be comfortable as a society to have these conversations, and we got to be open-minded to doing so. But we also have to focus on problems such as social class, gender, and other factors that play a role into why people are the way they are too with their overweightness. For starters, we must end food deserts and must make healthy food more accessible and affordable. Second, we gotta improve things such as neighborhood safety and low-income areas, so everyone can exercise without fear. We can also challenge harmful beauty standards that damage mental health. We don't have to try to fit everybody into a societal box. That's not fair and it's unreasonable. Not to mention, things such as equal healthcare access for all racial, socioeconomic groups will also make people feel more standard to wanting to go to the doctor to get advice, wanting to get healthier, wanting to make physical activity a priority. And lastly, addressing the emotional, mental health problems which play a major role in people's eating habits. A lot of everything starts in the mind. So if we as a culture understand that what people in this community are going through each and every day, then it can allow us to empathize with them on a better level and make the adjustments that are needed for them to feel confident in their weight loss journey, to make them feel confident in their bodies, but also acknowledging that overweightness can lead to obesity, and obesity can lead to death. Because obesity isn't just laziness, it's a problem rooted by different factors that have caused people to be to the point they are today. But like I said, us learning about these different perspectives, us educating ourselves on these different sociological aspects, is all just allowing us as a people in a society to better understand each other so we can fight this problem. And we must fight this problem because it's important. Not because it's a problem now, it's a problem that's going to be in the future. We gotta stop obesity, and we just gotta just make our country and our world better and healthy.